A shame we did not meet when I was still with the company of heroes. You would have made a finer recruit. But no point dwelling on what cannot be. You have a Welwick worm to hunt. Sandworms slither brazenly across the desert dunes, but Welwick worms are far fewer in number. Rarity breeds demand, and so their meat is highly prized as a delicacy. The only way to catch your quarry is to entice it with something it cannot resist. These worms prey on the smaller creatures of the Singoli. A freshly slaughtered angler carcass would be my choice of bait. There is an area teeming with anglers to the east. I will mark it upon your map, along with the location where Welwick worms are most frequently sighted. Be warned, the blood will drive the worm into a feeding frenzy. If your skills are lacking, it will devour you as well. I'm not dying to a worm. I am not dying to a worm! Alright, so you gotta be careful here because I've done this before. You can't just pick any angler for some reason. You have to find the right angler. I don't know. They're a little bit further in. You'll know it though because they'll have like a little thing. These probably them over here. Yeah. They have the little thing over their head. Because I made the mistake one time of killing a regular angler, or one of the not marked anglers, and then I went to the other spot and I was like, why can't I do anything? And it took me like 5 minutes to figure out that I had to go back and get an actual angler that was marked. Because I'm smart, you know. I'm very, very smart. I'm probably the most smart of all smarts there are. I'm definitely up in the top 5. How many is 5 again? Do I have to hide again waiting for it? I guess I do. Yep. I guess they got into this fascination, like where they were like, maybe we should have them like position themselves first and then start the fight. Oh yeah, that's a great idea, George. I don't think they really cut anything out of this part of the quest line. I'm pretty sure this is about exactly how it goes. There might be like one little tiny quest or something that they took out, but I think this one's pretty much the same it was as always been. You look well. Have you caught your quarry then? Yes, worm. I got your worm. Your skills as a hunter rival those of our best. I applaud your success, Sophie. The meat will need to be heavily smoked before I ship it to Weiskat. Worry not, you have my word that he will receive it in time for the banquet. You must be eager to obtain the third ingredient. I regret to say that I know not of its location. For the nonce, you should return to Costa del Sol and seek Weiskat's counsel. Yeah, okay. But hold a moment. Since you will be meeting the captain again soon, there is something I would like you to deliver to him for me. The captain was always fond of this brand wine. I would be grateful if you would deliver it on my behalf. I was a reckless, angry youth when I first joined the company, and he would have been well within his rights to cast me out. Everything I have I owe to his wisdom and generosity. I, Weiskat, was firm yet fair teacher. an expert molder of men, and I suspect that is still the case now. Please give him my regards, Sophie. Sure, I can do that. Ghost of the Soul. Oh, come on, get your birds out of the way. The only thing I ask is people don't get their stupid birds all up in my face. Well met, Sophie. Landinel and Udanoon both spoke highly of you. What brings you here today? Ah, my favorite. I shall have to thank the Noon personally. Now, you have but one ingredient left. Fortunately, you will not have to travel to Aldenard this time to obtain it. I don't know where Aldenard is, but good. I'm glad I don't have to travel there. Truth be told, I never intended for you to collect this last ingredient. Ryboflavin, my old quartermaster, wished to bring it to Costa del Sol herself. However, not long ago, she sent word that there's been some sort of trouble at the long stop and that the delivery would be delayed indefinitely. She told me nothing of the incident itself, but I fear the situation may be dire. Though I would like nothing more than to aid her myself, I have no choice but to turn to you and your allies. Make haste to Hidden Ball Docks and speak to Uzun Nazun. He will direct you to Raincatcher Gully, where Ryboflavin and her people have made their home. The worst dungeon at launch. Ugh. It's not nearly bad now, but at launch it was an absolute freaking nightmare. What's the hurry, Venture? Eh? Something happening at the Gobble settlement? I don't know why you're so eager to help a bunch of beastmen, but go and talk to the skipper over yonder. She'll ferry you to Raincatcher Gully. We're going to Raincatcher Gully. Are you coming along? Heck yeah, I am. So in case you're wondering, this is actually still part of the same map. Let me show you. See, Costa del Sol is right here. And you have all this area right here. But the only way to get to this side is either to use the teleport here, which I'm about to unlock, or you use that ferry that I just took. So it's still one part of the map, but it's separated for by a river for some reason. So it's like an interesting choice, but at the same time, it's kind of like, why would you do that? But it's not a terribly big deal. I'm gonna attune right here and then it won't be a big deal at all after this. Hello, Ryboflavin. Ryboflavin all talks. Tongue flaps of Wisecat be reaching ears of Ryboflavin. Uplanders come for tasty fresh gobby treats, yes? Quest prize of Uplander deep in Longstop. Blighty beast catch gobby flock from home. Chase gobby flocks from home. Gobby flocks needs goodly Uplander. Give safety to Longstop with much hand lending. So all that translates into a dragon attacked us and I need you to help save us now. I really used to hate this dungeon, and I used to have to run it a lot. And I'll explain more why later, but at least it's nothing, like it's nowhere near as bad as it used to be. Like this used to be the worst dungeon ever. And now it's just like, okay, whatever. So visually, this is a really cool. This is a really cool little dungeon for sure. But I would say, in terms of difficulty, it used to be much higher. It's not so bad now. The main problem with this dungeon, to be honest, is that the middle part of the dungeon is kind of too much stuff. Like, there's just things everywhere, and you can very easily get overrun in it if you're not careful. And then the final boss is a pain in the tush, and he has poison. And the reason that this dungeon is so terrible really comes down to poison, because back in the day at launch, there was only one class that could cleanse poison, and that was White Mage. But the problem was that because this is a dungeon over level 30, there were healers that wanted to play the game that were playing as scholars, and but they wanted to heal, and they didn't have a way to cleanse the poison at the time, and it just made it really, really hard. People didn't have enough gear to survive the poison, essentially. So, and I don't know, it just was bad. It was just really, really unfun. I remember I had a friend that played Scholar and was trying to get through this, and we went about 6 times trying to get through this dungeon, but the DPS did not understand the mechanics well enough to kill the boss fast enough that she could keep me alive. And I was very well geared at the time, because I was like much higher level than the dungeon. I had already beaten this a long time before, and I was trying to help her. And even with me being well geared, it didn't matter. Like, the DPS just couldn't kill the boss fast enough because of all the poison. This ninja is not going to get a commendation from me. But anyway, this is the first boss, and I guess we'll just do this boss, and then I'll cut after this, and you can... Oh yeah, there's poison on these guys too, I forgot. So yeah, there's a lot of poison in this dungeon in general. So... but it's just really hard. Nowadays, though, they made it so that the scholars can cure poison as well. And in particular, they can clear poison much earlier, so that they can do it at this level. I think they could do it before, but not at this level. So... and then astromancers can do it too. So all the healers can clear poison. So it's all good now, but it used to be really hard. But, I mean, visually, the dungeon's really cool. It was pretty much just the poison was the big problem. Alright, that's a nice stopping point right there. Yeah, we'll be back at the end of the dungeon. I'll see you then. yeah, this dragon needs to be a pain in the butt. For a few different reasons. I already talked about the poison and like how it made it difficult for the healers. And that was a big part of it for sure. But that attack right there is another big reason he was a pain, because at launch, there was, when the servers were still over in Japan, there was definite lag issues, and so you would not always see the attack coming before it would, like, you couldn't, I mentioned this a long time ago, but like the show of the attack would the yellow bar thing would not be up the entire duration of time it's supposed to be, and so if you were reliant on that to get out of that attack, you often would not, as a tank, get out of it in time. And so what actually used to happen was, as a tank, I would, during this fight, I would have to sit and count to, I think it was 6, and I would count to 6 and then move out of the way. And that was the only way, like, I would sit here during the fight and be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then I would have to move. And that was like the only way that I could possibly keep from getting hit by that. It was like, that was it. That was the only real way it worked. It's pretty bad. But the poison was very bad, and as you can see too, he drops these poison things, right? These globs on people, and then if you don't move him as a tank, then he sits in the poison and heals himself, and so you would never be able to get him down in time. And then the whole thing with the DPS that was causing a huge problem was that oftentimes the DPS would not get out of the poison themselves. So you'd have a problem where the DPS would be sitting in poison, and it should be clear now. No. And then they wouldn't also use Limit Break, which they haven't used Limit Break yet. They could have used it a while ago already. Please use Limit Break. Use Limit Break, for God's sake, use Limit Break. Move them because they're trying to use Limit Break. The ninja should have used it though. That was really bad. If you're a DP, look, if you're a DPS, particularly if you're a ninja or samurai or one of those classes that's gonna have like a monk, can have like a single target DPS attack, please have Limit Break on your bar and use Limit Break on the final boss. Please. That's all I'm asking. Alright, so I just want to take a second here. I know that from my point of view everything is being a tank when you're watching these videos, but I do play other classes. I do main tank, that is mostly what I do, but I do other classes, and I'm not complaining about people in the game, and I'm not saying anything was so bad that it was terrible. I just kind of wanted to touch on one thing that I did mention there at the end of that fight, which is please use Limit Break. If you're a DPS, I'm going to show you how to do it. Like, if you're a DPS, you go into your traits, go to General, Limit Break, put it on your bar. Then when you're fighting the final boss and you get down to about, I'd say 15% or less, go ahead and use Limit Break. Nobody else is using it because the DPS is supposed to use it. That's kind of the norm. There's a couple of places where you might have situations where a healer would use it. The tank pretty much never uses it. But a DPS should definitely be using Limit Break. So if you're playing a DPS character, good for you, first of all. And I think there should be a lot more people playing DPS, but again, in Final Fantasy you can play everything, and I'm going to play other classes in the videos even, you'll see it. But when you play DPS, please just do me a favor and use Limit Break. You'll make everybody much happier. Psh, goodly Uplander has thanks of Gobbyflock. Flighty Beast was Chixie Foe, but Uplander outwitted with plans making. Uplander has goodly head for fighty think. Ryboflavin happy gives tasty fresh gobby treats to clever Uplander. Cheese is stinky sweet gobby treat. Special make with secret gobby arts. No party complete without gobby gouda. Ryboflavin every say. I like how my reaction to that cheese was, this is horrible cheese. Okay, so now we take the cheese back to Costa del Sol. But yeah, again, I'm not like, nobody in that did a terrible job. But if you're DPS, please learn to use Limit Break and maybe think about not running up and aggroing everything. Like, I understand if you don't like the speed the tank is going at, but running up and grabbing stuff and then running it to the tank is not really helping anybody. I gather you solved Ryboflavin's little problem. Please take the cheese away from me, it smells bad. By the gods, that unholy stench. This, definitely goblin cheese. Judging from the smell, this should be quite flavorful. How's it made? It's best you remain ignorant of such things. I still remember when I learned what kind of milk they use. Ugh.